From the Oklahoman newsroom, it's a signing day update. I'm Jenny Carlson here in our studios, and out on the trail of some of these recruits here in the state is Scott Wright. Scott, you've been out and about today. You actually had one of the few top-level guys you saw sign just now who was uncommitted today in the state. Not many of those left. Where were you? Who was it, and who'd you pick?
I was at Southmore, where Gervarrius Owens was choosing between Memphis, Kansas State, Houston, and Purdue. And he, now he had been one of the guys who had been committed to Memphis earlier in the season, decommitted in October. He initially pulls out the Memphis hat. It was a fake. He throws it over his head and pulls out the purple Kansas State hat, and the crowd went crazy. And so another local boy going to a Big 12 school, Gervarrius Owens, a defensive back. Very talented kid who rose up the charts during the season, especially chose not to stick with his teammate Quentin Lewis, who's going to Memphis, and he's going to go to Kansas State, play for Bill Snyder up there. So he was really excited. He was coming off of his visit up there over the weekend, and really dove into his decision-making process on Monday, and decided that Kansas State was the place for him to be.
Yeah, lots of fun when it's a signing day decision, even when there's a little bit of maybe unnecessary dramatics. But Scott, as you look at this class, we talked earlier today about the fact that this is a class that has 40-something Division I signees, and really a deep class with a lot of talent. As you look at this group, no matter where they're going, are there a couple names that sort of at the top of your mind as guys that could make the biggest impact the quickest?
I tell you what, I'll start with a couple of guys who are staying in state that I really like. I think Levi Draper from Collinsville has a chance to make a really early impact at linebacker for OU. He is a guy physically. Listen, he made our All-State team as a junior, and when he walked into the building, you could have told me that it was Levi Draper's dad. I mean, he's an adult body. In a high school kid's age, but he's ready to go, step in and play right away. I think he's intelligent, physically gifted, very fast for his size at 6'2", 230, whatever he's at now. I think that he's got a chance, and that's obviously a position where they can use some help in their two deep. So I think he's got a chance to step in pretty quick and make an impact. At OSU, I really like Ulagaz Brock Martin. Another guy that's very physically developed, really quick off the edge. Now, the defensive line, being a defensive end, that's a little bit tougher spot to break in early. But I think that he is the type of kid who will have a chance to at least get himself in the mix there and be able to help the Cowboys out. Looking outside of OU and OSU, I think Evan Fields from Midwest City going out to Arizona State is a guy that again, physically he's prepared himself to be in this situation, and he wants to go out there and get in the action right away and see what he can do.
You know, Scott, last year among our Super 30, down at the bottom of the top 10 was a guy named Justice Hill, who we all came to know as the newcomer of the year as a freshman, true freshman at OSU. Not that 10 is anything to sneeze at, but definitely a hidden gem, I think, among some of these guys that are at the top of the recruiting class. Are there guys that this year you could see, whether it's a year or more years away, that we look back and say, boy, that guy was a steal in the class of 2017?
There absolutely are a few. I think that Evan Fields could be one of those guys. Mm-hmm. Cameron Curl from Muskogee, who is going to Arkansas, I think is he's a guy that athletically is so athletically gifted. Once he's able to gain some weight, I think he can be a big time player in the SEC out there for Arkansas. The guy that at the end of his career, 3-4 years from now, that I think is going to really stand out is Tyrese Lott from Ardmore. He is a guy he's very long and lanky right now, 6'4", 260, got very long legs. I think that he's going to need some time to bulk up to get into a 290-pound body and go play defensive tackle for OU. But I think that once he gets to that point, he's so athletically gifted that I think he's really going to stand out in that position. I think it's going to be really fun to watch his progression as he grows and matures and gets to that point. And another one that I think a lot of schools around here and in Big 12 country in general are going to be saying, man, we wish we had taken a shot on that kid. Zaven Collins from Hominy, 6'4", 220 pounds, played quarterback and safety for Hominy, led them to the Class A state championship. Obviously, when you're playing Class A football, it brings up some immediate questions from recruiters, and some people shied away because of that. But so physically gifted that I think that he's going to be a big-time player at Tulsa, and there's going to be a lot of schools saying, man, we could have had a shot at that guy, and we missed out.
Yeah, definitely always fun to see what comes of these recruits after signing day, and what rankings were right, what were wrong, and who exceeds those expectations. And Scott, that brings us to spin ahead just a little bit as we're coming out of signing day and thinking about the next signing day 2018, while not right around the corner. The recruiting has already started. And you and Jacob Unruh, our other high school sports writer, will be compiling our next Super 30. Can you give us any indication as to who's making those decisions difficult on you, especially at the top of that next Super 30?
Well, I tell you what, it's I was just hanging out with a couple of guys that are going to be on it. Bray Walker from Southmore, the big offensive lineman, and Casey Thompson, the Southmore quarterback, who's being recruited all over the country. Going to be interesting to see what happens with those guys. Offensive line is going to be a really intriguing position in next year's class in the state. Just in the Oklahoma City area alone, okay, Bray Walker is 6'6", 6'7". Right now, he's down below 300 because he's trying to wrestle, and he's got to be below 285 to wrestle at the heavyweight division. But he'll be up around 305 for football season. We've got Owen Condon at McGinnis, who is 6'7" and 315. We've got Nigel Brandon at John Marshall, who is 6'7" and about 340 or 350. And we've got Hunter Anthony at Tuttle, who is 6'7" and about 315. We've got some massive linemen in the Oklahoma City area that are going to be heavily recruited. It's going to be really intriguing to watch what happens with Devontae Lee, the John Marshall running back, who is 5'9" or 5'10" and about 220 pounds. Doesn't have blazing straight line speed, but incredibly quick. And once he gets rolling, he outruns people. So that'll be intriguing to see how it goes with him. There are a lot of guys already in this class that have picked up Division I offers. We got Alabama has come in for a couple of guys. Ron Tatum at Putnam City, a big defensive end, has an Alabama offer along with OU. C.J. Moore, wide receiver from Tulsa Union, who's got an Alabama offer, OU and OSU, and tons of others backing that up. So there are a lot of really big prospects in this class, and it's going to be a fun one to watch. It's hard to say right now, but it might be bigger than this year. And we talked earlier about how big this class was, how strong it was at the top, how deep it was the rest of the way through. The depth will be the big question, but the strength at the top, it might match or surpass this year.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch how that all comes together. And as somebody vertically challenged, I'm pulling for Devontae Lee, Scott. I got to say the small guy gets my vote. We'll see how it goes as that Super 30 comes together for 2018. That'll be before this month is out. We'll have that Super 30 in the Oklahoman and on News OK. So be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.